e4, e5, f4, king's gambit. The purpose of this move is to remove black pawn from the center, and then white will play knight f3 and d4 and dominate the center. In addition, f-file will be opened, and attack on f7 square may begin. Bishop c5, declining the gambit, preventing d4 and potentially preventing castling knight c3. White is avoiding f takes e5 because of queen h5, g3, and white loses a rook. Even worse is king e2 with mate. White could have played knight f3, but with knight c3, he's hoping that black will take, check, g3 takes, and rook g2, followed by f takes e5, and white has a fine game. Knight c6, knight f3. Did white miss a chance to win material by f takes and d4? Well, not really, because black will offer the pawn, d6, for the sake of fast development. Knight f3 is very good because it puts more pressure on e5 and stops queen h5. E takes f4, really bad move, surrendering the center and wasting time on a pawn move. Instead, d6 was much better, give more protection to the pawn and also letting c8 bishop out. d4, punishing black's mistake and dominating the center, attacking a bishop and f4 pawn. Bishop b4. Probably better was to go to e7 and to give more defense to the king, because things are starting to look bad for black. Bishop takes, capturing the pawn and developing a piece. d5. Good move, controlling more center. And now e5. So all pawn moves have positive and negative aspects. One drawback of e5 is that this square could be used for the knight and not for the pawn. But on the other side, it does not allow black to develop naturally. For example, the most natural square for this knight is f6, and now it cannot go there. Bishop takes c3, giving up bishop for the knight, which is in general not a good idea. The bishop is more useful piece in most of the positions, but he's trying to give white doubled pawns. Now white has bishop pair and b-file for his rook. Bishop e6. Better was bishop f5 to oppose the potential bishop on d3. h6, bishop d3, h6, preventing knight g5 or bishop j5. But this pawn can later be a target. Better was to complete developing pieces. Now castle, knight g2 e7, rook b1, activating the rook along the b-file and attacking a pawn. b6, a beginner move, weakening light squares here, and also the knight loses a solid support. Better was rook b8 or queen c8. Now queen d2, developing the last piece into the game and preparing potential sacrifice on h6. Black castles and actually makes it easier for white to sacrifice a piece on h6. And that sacrifice will be really effective. Instead, black could have played knight a5, trying to explode this weak c4 square and put a knight there. If white takes the knight, then he will lose bishop pair, and also black can use this d5 square for his pieces. Instead, we see this nice sacrifice here, getting 2 pawns for the bishop and opening up king for an attack. Now white has all sorts of threats, knight g5, and if needed, rook f3, rook g3. Now black tried knight g6, but other moves were not any better as well. For example, knight a5, takes, and take the knight. So you see why this b6 move was bad. Bishop f5 is the same story. And f5 will leave the bishop unprotected. So knight g6, knight g5, threatening mate. White could have played takes, winning a bishop, but knight g5 leads to even faster victory. Rook e8, giving the king square to escape. There's 3 ways to win here. Bishop g6 and queen h7. 1. Knight h7, followed by knight f6. And move that was played in the game, rook f7, bishop takes, check, and mate.